today I'm going to be introducing you all to Gabrielle Lichterman. And Gabrielle has been working as a health journalist and researcher over the last 20 years. And is also a columnist and contributor to many different media and magazines. She's also author of the 28 Days, What Your Cycle Reveals About Your Love Life, Moods and Potential. And most fantastically of all, she's also developed some brilliant apps that will help track your monthly cycle and your moods through that cycle. Particularly, I know we're going to be focusing on anxiety and self-esteem and the big correlations between them and the female monthly cycle. I stumbled across your fantastic app while reading an article in The Guardian, and I literally punched the air with delight when I read that article. I was just so happy because for years I've been saying to my clients, map your cycle. And now there's no excuses because there's this fantastic app that you've got. So welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me here, Clive. I'm really excited to talk with you too.
Can you start by telling us about your background? Because there's 20 years of fantastic research and writing right there. But just tell us a little bit about that research and how it led you to developing these apps.
Well, for the last 20 plus years, I have been a full-time women's health journalist. Before that, I was also an editor. So I'm very familiar with how to go into medical journals and search for research to write about. And that's how we health journalists really get our stories. We look for, great stuff that people are doing, but that people don't know about because the researchers, they put it in the journals and that's where it ends. They don't know. They don't have publicity. They don't know to get this stuff out to people. So in 1999, I was doing research for an article, and I came across this great study that found that women are more attracted to romantic partners who have more masculine-looking features during their fertile phase of their cycle. And they're more attracted to romantic partners who have more feminine-looking features during non-fertile phases of their cycle. Now, again, this is 1999, way back, many years ago when the internet was just starting out. I know it's hard to remember those days. So this was really exciting information because at that point, we weren't really hearing anything about how our hormones were impacting us, except, premenstrually or maybe, during our period. And it was always bad. So this was novel. And I thought, if there's this one study, I bet there's a lot more. So using my, many years of research skills, I went into the medical journals and looked for hormonal effects on everything, moods, health, behavior. And wow, there were hundreds, there's thousands. And so I gathered them all, and I noticed there was a trend that certain things happened on certain days every cycle. Your mood was elevated on certain cycle days every cycle. Your mood would go down on certain days every cycle. So I took all those studies, all those hundreds, thousands of studies, and I plugged them into a menstrual cycle calendar. And I realized you can predict the outcome of your day, your mood, your energy, your sleep habits, what you're shopping for, who you're attracted to, and so much more based solely on where you are in your monthly menstrual cycle. And that was my aha moment. And I thought, I need to live like this, and I need to share this with other women who can also use this because it's just such practical knowledge.
I think my biggest aha moment was also opening up that app for the first time and going, there's my month. I know it now, and thank goodness. It all makes sense.
You can plan for it. That's right.
It all makes sense to me now. What I really love also about your work, which I'll be coming to later towards the end of this, is about how it's not even just for women, it's for everybody. Everyone can avail this app for all sorts of reasons, which is brilliant. Where I'm coming from as a CBT therapist, when I'm looking out for different things I can use in my therapy with my clients, I have to think all the time, how is this going to benefit my client? How is this going to make them and their life happier and healthier and better? And I think particularly when as soon as I saw that app, I thought, this is going to be just what I need for all these years of talking to my clients about mapping out their hormones. But particularly for anxiety and self-esteem, because for me, I can really see those times of the month, particularly when I'm doing behavioral experiments with my clients, where some days they're like, yes, I'm going to do this, Claire. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go and do this social event and I'm going to go and meet new people or whatever it is I've tasked them to do. But then with other people, it could be other times of the month. I've gone and timed it wrong. I'm like asking people to do things, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. Oh no, I can't do that. And their self-esteem drops, and I'll come back to it the following session, and I go, yeah, okay, actually, I feel like I can do it today. It's like chalk and cheese with the same person. And it's like, whoa, okay, what's really changed in this last week? Well, I think we know now from this app, we know what's changed in that 1 week. Big things can change, hormones can change, and that can really lead to motivation. So that's what I wanted to really talk to you about. And I think I want to start off just really focusing on the big one, which is anxiety. I think what I really would like to find out from you is, what do you think is the best way to communicate the value of this app to women, and particularly with anxiety, so that they go out there and they download this app? What are they going to get from it?
Well, the great thing about this app and hormonology in general is that you now know when your vulnerable times in your monthly cycle are going to be when it comes to anxiety, when you're more prone to it. Several points in your cycle when you're more vulnerable to anxiety, and you may be more apt to have that anxiety at one point in your cycle, but not another point where another woman would be vulnerable. So I'd like to just quickly go through the points in your monthly cycle when you're more prone to anxiety and why. So the two biggest points in your cycle when you're more prone to experience anxiety is week 2. And week 2 is the week leading up to and including ovulation. During this week, estrogen is high and it's rising. So you've got a lot of estrogen coming out. And while this normally boosts your mood and makes you feel good, in some women, high estrogen actually triggers anxiety because it causes a lot of brain arousal. It puts you on edge. It makes you, it gives you too much mental energy. So that's one unfortunate side effect of high and rising estrogen. The other point in your cycle when you're more prone to anxiety, strangely enough, is when your estrogen is plunging. Now, this is for different reasons. So this is during your premenstrual week, the days leading up to your period, which is week 4 of your monthly cycle. And the reason you're more prone to anxiety in your premenstrual week, as estrogen plunges, it actually upsets levels of brain chemicals that manage mood, such as serotonin. So when estrogen plunges, it can take down serotonin, and as a result, it can make you more vulnerable to having anxiety attacks. There are 2 other points in your cycle when you can experience anxiety. It's not as common, but if you experience anxiety during these cycle times, now you'll know why. One is during the latter half of your period, which is during your week 1 of your cycle. And the reason for that is 2 things. One is you could be sensitive to estrogen as it starts to climb. I know personally that as my estrogen starts to climb, I start to get a little side effects, racing heart, more energy than you can handle, that antsiness. Well, like me, you might have that sensitivity to rising estrogen as it starts to lift off, because estrogen starts off very, very low and then it rises. So you could be sensitive to that initial rise. If so, that tends to pass as your body gets used to that rise. Another reason you could have anxiety during the end of your period is low iron. Your body sheds iron as you bleed during menstruation, and when your iron levels get lower, unfortunately, it can also bring down levels of serotonin, that mood-stabilizing brain chemical that tends to keep anxiety at bay. That's the case with you. Ask your doctor if you can take an iron supplement all cycle long or eat more iron-rich foods. And finally, the last time in your cycle when you could be vulnerable to anxiety is the few days after ovulation. And the reason for that is because estrogen is actually descending on those days sharply. This is less likely to happen than during your premenstrual week, because at the same time, on these days after ovulation, as estrogen is descending, progesterone is rising. And progesterone is a sedating hormone. It calms you. So you're less likely to have anxiety on those days. However, if you are sensitive to plunging estrogen, despite the rising progesterone, you could still have these effects.
And that's just so overwhelming without an app. It's like, oh, which days? Every time.
Well, again, I want to point out that most women likely will not have anxiety at every single point of their cycle. But if they get it at one point, now they understand why at that point. You know, that sensitivity to rising or falling estrogen, it really makes a big difference.
And I think that's it, because when I wake up in the morning and I can open this up, which I've been doing regularly since last week, and I can look at it each morning first thing and go, right, today I've got to watch out because I know my estrogen's high or my estrogen's low and what that means and the consequences. And it's like, bingo, right, this is what I've got to do today. And it works. The other hormone I really wanted to find out from you, because I always think it's really underplayed with women, is testosterone. And, you know, actually some of my female clients over the years, when I told them about testosterone, like, oh, I thought it was just male hormone. Like, no, women produce it too, but obviously in much smaller amounts. Does testosterone actually have a part to play with anxiety as well?
It can. During that week 2 stage, that those days leading up to and including ovulation, at the end of your week 2, during ovulation, your testosterone actually rises slightly. And if you have anxiety, this could exacerbate it because testosterone also boosts that brain energy, that antsiness. It enhances that brain arousal that you get from high and rising estrogen. So it's kind of a double hormone whammy. If you're sensitive to high and rising estrogen during your week 2, then that rising testosterone could just kind of kick it up a notch more, and really make those symptoms a little bit more intense.
Tip people over the edge, particularly perhaps even having panic attacks. So perhaps if they could normally keep that at bay, and then if it's just coinciding with that estrogen and testosterone blast, then bam. Do you think that's something that would happen?
Yes, I think that as that second hormone rises and reinforces that estrogen rising, it could definitely turbo boost, provide a turbo boost to those symptoms. And if you have been trying to keep them at bay and then you notice it's harder as you get closer and closer to ovulation and you are ovulating, that's likely the reason why.
Okay, well, that I think have a lot of light bulb moments in many people's minds today when they're thinking about that, particularly my clients and people out there who have panic attacks, and they do notice that they can, for the majority of the month, control things. But it's a tipping edge. So what do you think then are the real big main tips? And you mentioned iron, which actually, by the sounds of it, you can take that for the whole month if you are susceptible with estrogen. But what do you think are the main big tips, particularly for those times of then during that cycle when anxiety can be at its highest level? What can women do?
Well, I'm sure you've shared a lot of really helpful tips with your clients. The tips that I would recommend are probably tips you've already shared and maybe some that you haven't. One would be to do mindfulness meditation all cycle long. Mindfulness meditation, as I'm sure you know, is where you sit still and you focus on your breath as you slowly inhale and slowly exhale. And research has shown that this trains your brain to stay calm even when you're beginning to feel tense or you're in tense situations that prompt anxiety. And this type of easy meditation also gives you coping mechanisms so that when you feel those symptoms come, you can use that slow, deep breathing to calm it in. And again, you're training your brain. Another really important thing is the serotonin situation. When serotonin is dropping, you think, wow, I can't take a serotonin pill. What can I do? Well, there are ways to help keep serotonin a little more elevated all cycle long. And one of those ways is taking B6, vitamin B6. Again, ask your healthcare professional before you take any new supplement, but vitamin B6 paired with magnesium, so that would be 200 milligrams of magnesium and 50 milligrams of B6. When they work together, they actually help reduce symptoms of premenstrual anxiety. And that's because magnesium is a calming nutrient, and B6 helps lift serotonin. So together, they're helping to keep anxiety symptoms in check. And other non-supplement ways to keep hormone-related anxiety in check is to exercise. Exercise has been shown to alleviate a lot of that extra mental antsiness and energy. And probiotics, right. I said I wasn't going to supplement free, but probiotics is really important. A multi-species probiotic with Astophilus and bifidum. These are good bugs that you put in your system, and they also help. The gut is somehow connected to the brain, and when you put these good bugs in your gut, it tells the brain to produce more serotonin. So those are some of those are easy ways to help rein in hormone-related anxiety.
I think those tips are brilliant, absolutely. I'm always banging on about serotonin. One of my clients gets sick and tired of me talking about serotonin, oxytocin and dopamine, and we can go on and on all day about those, but we got to keep it on message. But absolutely, brilliant tips, thank you. The other point with this as well is that there are multiple apps, and I suppose I'm not sure if this is a downfall. We haven't even talked about this. I forgot to ask about this the other day when we were having a chat about this. I appreciate that. I don't think this could be appropriate for people who are obviously perimenopausal and have irregular cycles, with their skipping periods, and also obviously not for people in a menopause. It's a very different phase of life. But I do know that at the other end of the spectrum, you have a brilliant app also that's focused on teenagers. Its own very own separate app. So what is the big difference between a teenager's hormone cycle and someone who, say, is in their mid-20s, early 30s in relation to anxiety in particular?
To be honest with you, the biggest difference is that these up and down changes are so new to teen girls that it's scarier. Why is this happening? It's so new. It's somewhat, it can be terrifying for some and traumatic for others. If they don't know that their new cycle can prompt these changes, it just comes out of nowhere. Whereas if you're in your 20s or 30s, okay, I've been through this before. You may not realize exactly, what's going on until now because, we're explaining it. But you've gotten used to it. Okay, I've been through this before. Okay, it's going to happen again. I don't know why. Now you do. I don't know when. Now you can. But when you're a teenager, everything about your cycle is so new that the biggest difference is just the scariness of how you're changing personally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think we all understand and remember those days.
Yeah.
Not just for the teenagers, but for the parents as well. And I think we'll talk about that later.
So right.
This app is for everybody.
That is so true.
Now, the other area, which obviously wanted to cover off with you today, is self-esteem, which is the other big part of my work with my clients. And obviously I work with a lot of people who have really, really low self-esteem. And when I was flicking through each day on the app, I could really see that there were particular days of this month that actually I know I'm going to be feeling better about life, more optimistic, more, yay, I can do this, bring it on. And then there are other days where I might be more prone to, no, I can't do this, and I'm more pessimistic. So can you tell us a little bit about that correlation between the monthly hormones and how they influence the feelings of adequacy and self-esteem?
I'm really glad that we're talking about this because cycling hormones have such an impact on our self-esteem. It's so strong that I'm really surprised it's taken us this long to put them together. Generally speaking, during the first half of your cycle, from the first day of your period through ovulation, your self-esteem will increase. It may start off low during the first couple of days of your period. And researchers believe that's because we have a negative self-image due to bloating and possibly acne. So those kind of things can, impact us. But as estrogen starts to rise throughout the first half of our cycle, this hormone tells the brain to churn out more mood-boosting chemicals. And these chemicals increase our confidence, pride, ambition. They make us feel like we have high self-worth. And we're worth crowing about. We're worth bragging about. It's so funny because we could go from, I don't feel really great about myself to I am the best at this within a 2-week span. It's really funny. But these are days that you can look forward to. The first half of your cycle, you get an increasing boost of self-esteem.
Yeah.
During the second half of your cycle, totally different story. Not a lot of women realize this, but we have 2 dips in estrogen during the latter half of our cycle, not just one. And every time our estrogen dips, it's dragging down those mood-managing brain chemicals with it. And when that happens, unfortunately, that can make us feel less than perfect. On top of that, we're battling rising progesterone. Progesterone is a hormone, as I mentioned earlier, it's a sedating hormone, but it also, dastardly hormone that it is, it prompts water retention, constipation, we can feel slower, mentally foggy, and all of these effects can impact how we feel about ourselves. So the second half of our cycle, the day after ovulation through the day before our next period, those could be trying times when it comes to self-esteem. These are days when, if you know they're coming up, that you're going to have to prepare. You're going to have to do things that boost your self-esteem in other ways, and just waiting for those hormones to kick in and just to naturally feel self-confident and proud of yourself.
Yeah. And I totally think this is going to be a really big one, particularly for a lot of people who are out there in the workplace that are having to do various challenges, but they have very little control of. So let's say they're in a sales job, or they're having to make presentations, or maybe they're even going for an interview. And I'm wondering, when there's no control over what days you can actually schedule those on, because now with this app, I'm going to be scheduling those tasks in the right time of the month, let me tell you. But not everyone has that much control over their working week or month. So what can they do? So if they're asked, let's say, to do a number of speeches and it's falling in the wrong half of the month, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to fail at this, I'm not going to be any good at this, everyone's going to be thinking I'm rubbish at speeches or presentations or whatever it may be, what can they do?
Well, the great thing about hormonology is that you can know ahead of time what effects your hormone's going to have on you, so you can plan for the best days. But an even better reason to follow hormonology is because you can plan to overcome hormonal challenges. And there are ways to overcome this. Numerous studies, for instance, have shown that positive self-affirmations, they seem a little silly or new agey, but telling yourself, look, I'm good at this, I earned this, I'm talented, I have skills, or I love my body, love and accept my body. These kinds of positive self-affirmations really work. They affect your mood. So, yeah, it seems silly as you're telling yourself this stuff in the mirror, but it really, really works. So just try it. Another thing I want to talk about is sleep. Sleep is really essential to self-esteem. That's because good sleep helps balance mood-moderating brain chemicals like serotonin. So getting a good night's sleep before that presentation is key. Now here's the rub. During those 2 estrogen dips in the latter half of our cycle, dropping estrogen can actually make it more difficult to sleep. But again, because we know this ahead of time, we can take precautions. So put in earplugs, put on a sleep mask, kick the dog out of the bedroom. Do whatever you need to do to get better sleep, because research proves that a good night's sleep really does impact your feelings of self-worth, simply because they impact those mood-managing brain chemicals. And one other new study came out and said exercise helps. One bout of exercise makes you feel better about yourself, especially if you have self-esteem issues about your appearance. Say you're going to a networking function, you just don't feel like you're at your best. You've got progesterone causing all this water retention and constipation. You feel like a little larger than you really are. Your descending estrogen is making you a little bit skewed about how you perceive yourself. This new study came out and said one bout of exercise, just go for a brisk walk, take a bike ride, helps you feel better about how you appear. Just one bout. So I would definitely recommend that as well.
Brilliant advice, absolutely. So as I've been sort of intimating through this chat, I think this app really is for everybody. I know that with your marketing on the website, you're aiming it at partners of women out there, male or female. I'm sure everyone can avail of it in that guise. But I also think that parents and friends and brothers and sisters and anyone who's not getting this loved person in their life and why they're having these, mood swings and irrational moments and then other times so high on life, I think it's for everybody. But you do have an app that is specifically for these people, which is the female forecaster app, although I would say it's more to do with your loved one, as in your, you've got some great terms, but they're like your sweetie, your honey, your... The other thing, this could be a benefit to brothers and sisters and everybody out there. But I think, it's great because you can actually decide, you can know when your partner's weeks are, you can know from their cycle, and you can plan. So whether it's something really romantic, like planning a proposal of marriage, you want to be doing that on the right day of the month, don't you?
Absolutely.
or you want to like bring up the fact we're not doing any housework, or you don't want to suddenly, be a front with the she-devil attacking back. You want to be doing it on a day where they're like, oh, you know what, you're right, I haven't really done much housework this week.
That's right.
So what else can you see this particular, the female forecasting app, what else can it be useful for, particularly with minimizing anxiety and not hurting someone else's self-esteem too much?
Well, honestly, I think it helps. Couples create a closer relationship. I think that it will reduce the amount of tension or arguments that might arise because partners will now know why their wife or girlfriend is feeling a certain way, or they expected her to be excited about some surprise and she wasn't. Now you can understand why. So there's a lot more understanding. But I also think it's really important to support women. I think that when partners of women understand how their hormones impact them, this helps all cycling women. I can't tell you how many emails I get from men who thank me for hormonology in general, because now they understand their partner in a whole new way, and they've helped them. They've helped their partners identify when they've had very difficult premenstrual weeks, and they may have a disorder called premenstrual dysphoric disorder, PMDD, which is a severe form of PMS, which needs treatment. So some men have written to me thanking me because now that they've helped their wife or girlfriend isolate this problem, and now she can get treatment. So now we've got another person on board helping you with your mental and physical health. And that's key. This is the person who's closest to you. How great is it for that person to know how you're supposed to be according to your hormones, how your energy, mood, and health is supposed to be, and when it's out of whack, so they can help you and support you. So I think that's important. I also want to point out, I do have these apps, but the Female Forecaster and the Hormone Horoscope Pro are pay apps, but I have free apps for women, free apps for teens, and I have a whole bunch of free tools on my website, myhormonology.com, because if you don't have, the money, I don't want you to be shut out from this information. This information needs to be shared. So I make it as much information as possible freely available on my website because everybody should have it. The apps, they help you, they come with a lot of bells and whistles. They help you track your cycle. They help you track your partner's cycle. They help you keep notes and do other things. Like, there's extras. But the real, heart of hormonology, all the information you need can be found freely as well, if that's what you need.
Yeah, and that really is a really informative website, and absolutely everyone has to go there, but definitely downloading these apps, and I've got the paid version. I mean, it's just over €2, and I think it's worth every single cent. But as you say, there is the light version, but it's equally informative and, just lacking a few other little points that the Pro one has, but it's still...
Right, the Pro goes into much more detail. Yes, that's true. I should point out that the Pro versions, paid versions, go into a lot of detail about your hormones, your mood, your energy, your romantic life, how you're shopping, your health, everything. Whereas the light version is just a short summary. That's a good point to make.
Yeah. And they're both accessible, obviously, on Google Play for Android and obviously on the Apple App Store I really think that there's been some brilliant information given there. I'm so pleased that we got this podcast together, because I can't wait to get everyone involved and getting everyone to listen to this podcast and downloading this app, because it's a life changer. It really is. It's going to change so much for so many people. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Claire, and I would love to talk further about, oh my gosh, all the many, many ways that hormones impact us. You could go on for days, and I really appreciate your wanting to share this really important and useful knowledge. Every woman should have it, starting with her very first cycle.
Yeah, and hopefully next time we'll talk about another angle on it. Thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Claire.